Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of Not the Girl Next Door. I'm your host, Meg Reynolds, and as you can see, my co-host is with us today. He is being very needy because mom has been traveling a lot and he's not used to me being home so much. And I'm definitely feeling it. I'm definitely feeling the exhaustion of how much I've been traveling and just all of it. I mean, let's be real here. Like, it's July, the year is halfway gone, and I know probably a lot of us are hitting that mid-year point where we just crash out, myself included, where we're freaking out about, oh my God, I didn't get in shape like I wanted. I haven't achieved any of the things on my New Year's resolutions. I fell off my New Year's resolutions. For me, I haven't gotten as much as I want done with writing my book and progressing this podcast and doing my personal content. And, but the thing is it's not too late. It's never too late to get back on the bandwagon and kind of reset. And so that is what today's episode is going to be focusing on. And the reason I titled it H.A.G.S, because does everyone remember writing H.A.G.S in our school yearbooks growing up? Like, everyone was always so excited the day you would get your yearbook and you would just sign everyone's stuff. And even if you didn't know what to say to somebody, you would just write H.A.G.S and you would sign your name. And then you would come back in the fall and everyone would want to talk about everything that they did that summer. And it almost felt like a weird competition growing up of who had the coolest summer, who had the most unique summer, who went on the trips and did whatever. And, growing up, I remember I used to feel not insecure about it, but like my family did the same thing every single summer. And I always felt like it wasn't cool enough. And now I crave the days of going camping on the beach. And that's all I want to do. And so, but I feel like we still do that in adulthood just through social media. We try and live our lives like through the lens of, look how much cool shit I'm doing. And that's one of the biggest things people always say to me is like, you're always here, there, and everywhere. You're always here, there, and everywhere. You're always on the go and you do so much, blah, blah, blah. And like, even this past, like for the 4th of July, I was in Hawaii for the 4th of July, which won't even get into the colonizer, like all the ethics of that. It was for work, but it was my first time in Hawaii and it was such a cool experience. And it got me thinking about this episode because I think we get so caught up when we hit this mid-year point of thinking about all the things that we have not done yet and all the things that we failed to keep up with, instead of focusing on what we have done and like giving ourselves credit and praise for that, and focusing on the things that, yeah, we didn't expect this, but this is a path that showed itself to me and I wanted to explore that. And so I encourage you guys to not get hung up on the things that you haven't done and give yourself a little more credit for the wins. And I brought Hawaii up specifically because I'm like, that's like a once in a lifetime opportunity. You're telling me that something that I picked up as a hobby and, maybe wanted to get a little bit of side money, like a little side hustle, has turned into this career that's taken me to Hawaii. And in just a couple weeks, it's taking me to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which is again, another bucket list place. And I could sit here and I could focus on, well, I haven't written my book. I haven't gotten an official brand deal. Yes, I've done collaborations, but haven't gotten paid for a brand deal yet. And, oh, the podcast hasn't hit that number of subscribers that I want it to. And, oh, blah, 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 blah. There's other things that have taken precedent. And don't get me wrong, like I want to get back on track with the podcast. And I, want it to continue to grow. And I'm perfect. I'm not perfect. Hello. I'm not perfect. I'm flawed. And I'm still figuring out ways to balance my career. And this is kind of getting into this whole episode, but the idea is like, you're not just one thing in life. I am somebody who I consider myself a multifaceted person. I have a lot of passions, a lot of interests, a lot of paths I want to take, things that I want to explore. And I think for so long, I was trying to keep myself in line and put myself in one lane, one box. And, the thing that I had to realize is that one moment, one event, one flaw, one, mistake, one passion, none of that defines who I am and none of that defines who you are either. Like my previous chapters of my life that could have been moments that defined me, whether it was the depression I struggled with in high school and the self-harm I struggled with, my assault, all the shitty boyfriends, the trauma with family, like, but even the good stuff, my time with iHeartRadio and, the internship I did in New Orleans that one summer, like, none of these pieces alone tell you guys who I am. And if you were to tell me things about yourself, no single one piece of information would tell me who you are. They wouldn't tell me who you are, and they won't tell me who you're going to be. When I think of those past versions of myself, it's funny because I know her. I know her so well. I know her better than she knew herself. But the thing is, that version of me, she doesn't know who I am today. She doesn't know the woman I've become. She doesn't know the things that I am capable of, because these were things I had to learn with time. And so I want us to reframe how we look at the passage of time and how we think of our past selves, because our past isn't a life sentence. They're just lessons. And with that, the passing of time is scary. I think that's why things like how to overcome your quarter life crisis, or, talking about people having their midlife crisis where they get divorced and get the fancy car, like all of those things. And I think when you're someone like me who is so multifaceted and has these big thoughts about life and themselves, and you're taking the time to learn yourself now, I think you're just honestly avoiding a midlife crisis later in life when you're having these big thoughts and feelings now. And, take this podcast, for example, the podcast came out of one of the most traumatic relationships, if not the most traumatic relationship of my life. And I look at that past and it's, I still have so much love for that version of myself, but I don't wish to go back to that moment in time. I'm glad that time has continued to pass, because it's led me to be who I am today and where I'm at today. And I look at the trajectory of my life and I see I look at it like a timeline that you're looking at in history class. And I can see all of those big pinpoints in my life where it's like, yep, this is a moment in time that changed my life. And I look at that timeline and I see all those moments, and yes, there's a lot of pain there. There's a lot of heartache. There's so much. But I know if I took away any of those pinpoints, changed it even slightly, my life would be completely different. And I don't want my life to be completely different. Are there days where I'm super stressed? And even right now, the exhaustion is just overtaken my body. I've been sleeping so much this past week that I've been home. But the thing is that time is going to continue to pass anyways, no matter how much I beg and plead with the universe, no matter how much I just wallow in this idea that I'm getting older and I let that fear swallow me up, the time is going to continue to pass by. And so I've tried to stop looking at time as the days and the days and the months on a calendar, and started measuring how I'm spending my time in the people I'm surrounding myself with, the songs that I'm listening to, the places I get to visit, and tracking time in that way makes life feel so much sweeter. And I'm curating more happiness that way, because I'm not just focusing on, oh my God, it's been 60 days and I've gotten nothing of this project done. Whereas I look at it, I'm like, it's been 60 days and I have traveled to 3 new cities and I've met so many new people and taken on new projects, completed old projects and new hobbies and all of these things, even the smallest of things of I'm finished my needlepoint project and I can't wait to start the next one. I think that when we look at the passing of time, and it's so easy to get that existential dread. I don't know if anyone else has had that, but sometimes it'll keep me up at night. This thought that, oh my God, one day I am no longer going to be here. And I don't know when that day is going to come, what time it's going to be. I don't know how old I'm going to be. I don't know who's going to be in my life. And that's really scary. And sometimes it swallows me up at night and I can't sleep. And suddenly it's 3 a.m. and I'm like, I need to put on TV in order to get back to sleep. But the thing is it's going to come either way. as scary as that is. My death is the only thing that's certain in life. My wedding day isn't certain. Falling in love isn't certain. Nothing is certain other than the fact that I'm going to die. And that's the one thing we as human beings all have in common with each other, is the fact that we're all going to die one day. And when you put it like that, it's really fucking morbid, right? Like, this is probably not where you guys thought this episode was going to go. And death is a topic that is so uncomfortable for me to talk about. And it's something that actually I've been talking about in therapy a little bit, because I want to conquer that, paralysis that I get from it, and trying to make peace with that now of like, hey, yeah, that's the only thing that's certain, and everything else is temporary. But I talk about it in this because it is so easy for us to get wrapped up in our to-do lists and the mundane things, and just needing to fill our days so much that we're not actually being present in our lives. We're just then numbing ourselves. And I know I've hit that point where I'm like, I just need to slow down. And sometimes that is the best use of your time, is slowing down. For me, it's like, I know that probably a lot of women that listen to this podcast are just like me. You're a really ambitious girly, but you are just stuck and you can't seem to get anything done. And like, for me, it's my notes app is just an endless list of ideas and things I need to get done, and planning and more planning. And it just seems like for every one idea I complete 5 more pop up. And it just seems like I can never get it all done, and I can never get it all out of my mind, and I can never quiet my mind. But the thing is, there's something really beautiful about that. The list of the lives that I want to live just keeps growing. And I think that means that it could be, on one hand, you could be doing that as a way to distract yourself from whatever is going on in your life. But I think for me, and probably for a lot of people, it's just a beautiful thing that you are so open-minded and curious to what the world has to offer. And that's a really beautiful thing. But the problem is wanting those things is useless when it only lives in your head. And so that is kind of where I want to take the next 6 months of this year to take some of these ideas out of my head. And it can feel so overwhelming, because you're like, well, how do I do that? Like, how do I start acting on these ideas? And the thing is, you just do it. Like, that's all. That's the trick, is nobody's going to give a shit if you're sitting there going, oh, I wish I did this a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago. But no one gives a flying fuck that you are starting this a year late or 2 years late. No one cares. You're the only one that cares. And you're probably the only person that knows that. And the thing is, if you're someone like me, who you are such a dreamer, but you also are a type A planner, and like by the time you do all the dreaming and the planning and the research and all these things, you're burnt out and you don't want to do it anymore and you're exhausted. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just start doing it. Start doing the thing. And part of this too, with the passage of time, is, the more options we have, the more grief we feel. And because we're grieving, you're not just grieving the past anymore, especially post-college, you're grieving the future life that you may never get to have. And this, I've talked about this before, how I had my life planned out and my 20s did not turn out at all like I thought. And at 27 now, that's something I'm really having to wrestle with, because I thought I would have a kid by now. I thought I would be married. And it's not that I want those things now because I don't feel ready for them. But there is a grief that comes with that, is the more I grow in myself, the more I learn about myself and figure out who I am, I feel farther and farther from that life that I thought I wanted. And there is a grief to that, right? There's a grief in accepting that this life that you dreamed of as a little girl is not the reality of who you grew up to be. And I can't help but feel like I disappointed her a little bit, right? But the thing is, I know she would be so proud, because I've actually done more than I ever was able to dream I was capable of, right? And yet, I can't help but feel that I've disappointed her, because there's that one thing missing, and that thing is a boyfriend. It's love, but it's not actually missing. And I think that's part of, if you're someone like me who's relating to all this, I think that's why we get stuck in this loop of just making lists and dreaming. It's because we have this habit of writing our dreams down, but we're so afraid to let ourselves have them sometimes. We're so afraid of being seen, and we're so afraid of being bad at it, and we're so afraid of them not coming to fruition. But the reality is that a lot of the dreams that I had even 2 years ago just don't apply today. And, for me, the question, where do you see yourself in 5 years, right? For so many of us, that makes us all want to crawl out of our own skin, right? You're like, I feel scared. And for some reason, for me, my 5-year plan goes to shit every 2.5 years. It went to shit in the summer of 2019. It went to shit in the fall of 2021. It went to shit in the spring of 2024. Like, every 5-year plan that I've put together has gone to shit, but it's because that 5-year plan was so rigid. It didn't evolve with me. And so this is something I've been wrestling with too this year, is now that I'm 2 years into my business, I haven't had a 5-year plan for the past 2 years, right? I've just been kind of figuring shit out as I go and trying to figure out what I want out of this chapter of my life. And I'm still having a lot of big question marks. And I've talked about this. I've done a whole episode on this before, is the excitingness done an episode like how unnerving that is and how I've talked about it in therapy. I'm having to sit with more and more uncertainty as I continue to build things. And I could easily let that suck the life out of me, right? I could easily be like, oh my God, I have no goals. I don't know where I'm going, and like just get so lost and become so miserable. But I refuse to let that happen. And I refuse to become somebody who's just all work, no play, because I spent so much of my life depriving myself of joy that now I'm like, I want to feel joy every day in some capacity, even on my shittiest of days, finding a single moment of joy. Because I firmly believe the key to a good life is prioritizing joy. It's not something to be earned through our suffering. It is something that you deserve to feel every day. You don't need permission to be happy. And I know that's easier said than done. And yes, like a lot of people are struggling right now. People are struggling to pay their rent, afford groceries, just live any semblance of a quality life. But I've met so many people who are in those dire circumstances that are filled with the most joy. And I think they inspire me the most, because I'm like, it would be so, you have every right to be cynical, right? But I think there's something so beautiful in those people. And I firmly believe if you're someone that leads their life with joy, it is going to work out. Maybe that's delusional, maybe that's naive, whatever you want to call it. Like, I firmly believe leading my life with joy and leading my life with happiness and kindness is the reason why things always seem to work out for me. I just firmly believe that. And there's some lessons that I've had to learn along the way to allow me to lead that life of joy and make the most of things. And these are my, I guess, have a great summer H.A.G.S lessons of how to make the most of your life. So I already said it, first and foremost, prioritize your happiness. You don't need permission to be happy. And there's some ways to do that. First and foremost, learning the difference of being needed versus being loved. Just because you're needed by someone does not mean that they love you. And I feel like, me personally, I am such a planner, but I am never someone who is planned for. I'm not always considered by people, by friends. And these past 6 months have been a lot of rude awakenings on that front, and a lot of detaching from people, a lot of recognizing when I'm fighting harder for a relationship that the other person couldn't give less of a shit about. Like, I'm like dog shit on the bottom of their shoe. And just recognizing when it's time to let go, and also recognizing when to accept people for who they are and not trying to make the friendship something that it isn't. That is also something that I've had to be learning. Another thing too, that I think this should be common decency I think all friendships across the board would improve, whether it's your best friend or just an acquaintance. I think relationships and community and building a village would improve if everyone recognized this common decency rule. And it's that if you decline an invite from somebody, it is on you to plan the next hangout. If someone invites you to their birthday party and you say no, it's not on them to try and keep inviting you places. It's on you to also say, hey, I'm so sorry I couldn't make it. How about I make it up to you and let's go to drinks. Let's go to lunch. Let's grab a coffee. It's that simple. Like, I don't know where people get this attitude of like, I don't need to reach out. They can reach out to me. The phone works both ways. The phone does work both ways. And that whole saying of actions speak louder than words, that still applies to you too. It's you can't act surprised if someone's inviting you to their birthday or they're hosting a dinner or they're going out with people and they keep inviting you and you just say, no, I'm busy, no, I'm busy, I'm busy. And then be surprised when they stop inviting you. You have to offer up something in return in relationships. Something else too with that, with friendships, is I need you to do a gut check on your friends. And it's if you sit there and you're looking at a friendship and you ever asked yourself, if I stopped reaching out, would I ever hear from this person again? That's your sign to stop reaching out. That's your sign to stop trying. Because I've done that before. And I'm currently doing that with some friends. And I've been proven right every single time. Some of those friends have come back and we have formed a better friendship than we ever had before. Some people I've never spoken to again. And that is the part of detachment that is really hard, especially as someone who struggles to be chosen and struggles with their need for others' approval. Because you'll sit there and you'll wonder, well, why was I not good enough? Why do they not want me in their life? And the thing is, it's not necessarily that they didn't. It's that they weren't willing to either prioritize you or they didn't have the capacity to be the kind of friend that you need and deserve. And that's okay. It doesn't make them a bad person. It's just not meant to be in each other's lives. With detaching too is letting things go. And I'm not saying you have to forgive people, right? Like, I firmly believe you do not have to forgive someone in order to move on with it. But what you do need to do is you need to release yourself from the anger that you're holding on to, because it will rot you from the inside out and it will suck the life out of you. You need to feel it. You need to talk it out. You can journal it. Do whatever you have to do, but you can't skip the letting go part when it comes to a situation and when it comes to anger. I'm not saying you need to forgive. And people love to be like, oh, but forgiveness is for yourself, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of people that I still have plenty of love for, but I do not forgive them for the shit that they've done to me. And I will never let them back into my life. Still have a lot of love for them. Will never forgive them. And that's okay. But I've released myself from the anger of it. And this is where, too, you need to move closer to the wounds that you hold, because that's what's going to set you free. That's where you'll learn your triggers and the parts of you that still need healing. That is where you're going to learn all of this. Because also something, too, is how can you choose the right relationships for you if you refuse to get to know yourself? How can you choose someone who's truly compatible with you when you're not even compatible with yourself because you don't know yourself. You're not taking the time to learn yourself. So I firmly believe that we have to meet the worst versions of ourselves in order to truly enjoy the rest of our lives. And that sounds really shitty, right? That sounds horrible. So I have to go through misery and I have to go through heartache in order to just enjoy my life. I don't think that's the case for everybody. I don't think you need to hit rock bottom and all of that. But I know I would not have such gratitude and warmth and just joy in my heart had I not gone through so much at such a young age. And maybe that's a coping mechanism. Maybe that's just how I process things and am dealing with them. But I just think that I'm able to really enjoy and be creative and immerse myself in that because I've met that worst version of myself who didn't want to be here and didn't think she would be here. And I've been thinking a lot about that version of myself lately. And maybe it's because it's been a decade since I was really immersed in that. And like I said, for so long, I spent so much of my time looking at my relationships with others as the thing that was going to heal me. But really, it was the relationship with myself. And that's where this podcast began. Is if you guys have been here since the beginning, the first episode of the podcast was called The Relationship That Broke Me. And I realized in all of the bad friendships and relationships and issues with family, it was the relationship I had with myself that was hurting me most of all because I didn't think I was worthy of anything else. And that's why I think all of us need to take a hard look at the relationships that we have with ourselves, because as we approach this mid-year and we're having this crisis and we're, freaking out about all the things that we haven't done yet, we're then not giving ourselves credit for the things that we did accomplish. And it begs the question too, if you're so focused on the things that you haven't done, you need to ask yourself, is the life you're living actually yours? Because you're hung up on this list of things that you said you wanted to do and you haven't yet done because other things came into path or whatever the case is, you weren't disciplined, whatever it is. But is that life that you're saying you want to live then actually yours? Like, who is telling you want to do those things? Where is that coming from? What is keeping you from achieving those things? Is it yourself? Is it other things in your life? Like, getting really clear on why you even set those goals, like what is your why, is so crucial and important. And that is something that I am taking the time to do with myself to kind of check in the mid-year, is asking myself why I wanted to achieve all of the things that I said I wanted to do. Why were they so important to me? Also asking myself, what is it that feels really good for me right now? What are the things that bring me the most joy? And how can I make sure I keep that in my routine? Where am I? And like, what are the things that don't feel good? Just asking yourself what priorities have shifted for you this year. And when you're looking at the things that you said you want to do this year, see if they no longer align with the priorities that you've set. Asking yourself, what choices have I made that I'm proud of and that I'm not proud of? Like, really just taking a good hard look at where you're at and where you were. I think that will really help you out. And also seeing if you need to reevaluate some of your priorities. Like, are there things in your life, whether it's your health, your relationships, your career, your passions, that you're neglecting, that maybe you need to be able to dedicate more time to, and where can you take things off of your belt, and just resetting your intentions for the second half of the year, regrouping on, what, this goal doesn't align with the person I've become in the last 6 months, and that's okay. I think we get so attached to our New Year's resolutions sometimes, where if we don't achieve them, it's like we're a failure. But instead of recognizing, like, we as people are fluid, we are ever changing, ever evolving, ever learning. And I think that's how it should be. And that's why, going back to the 5-year plan thing, like, all of these questions that we're asking here, you shouldn't have such a rigid 5-year plan that if in 5 years you don't achieve those things, that you're going to have a fucking crisis. Okay. It should be something that evolves with you. And I almost think we need to treat our 5 and 10-year plans like you would treat a personal brand, right? Like, when we're building a personal brand, everything that you're first doing is like the foundation of a house. You're setting your intentions with that. And then everything you're adding on top of that is just building off of what you've already done. And so I think that's how you need to look at your 5-year plan, is just like your own personal brand. And yes, I'm setting the foundation now. We may, get to building the walls and we're like, I want to change the color of the paint that's going to be in this room. I don't know. This analogy is kind of going off on a tangent, but you guys get the point. Is your 5-year plan shouldn't be something that is so rigid that it causes you an identity crisis a year end, when you're like, oh my God, I just took a left turn and now I have no idea how I'm going to accomplish any of this. Yeah, you tell him, Rocco. Something else too I've had to learn, like, part of why we all looked forward to summer vacation growing up is because it was a break. It was a 3-month long free-for-all where we could go to summer camp and have fun and frolic and be whimsical. And I have realized in my adulthood that I need, as much as we don't get summer vacation anymore, we shouldn't just be living for the weekend either, because the weekend is our only break. But for a lot of us, it's not even a break. Success, I've realized, does not come from constant grinding. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but go with me on this. There comes a point when you are constantly, especially for women, men are a little bit different, but we as women, we're not built for constant output. Okay. We need rest. And so sometimes when I'm constantly grinding, it depletes not just my physical, but my mental energy. And then there comes a point where all of the progress I've made seems to stall out. And then it feels like I'm starting from square one when I do pick back up again and I do have that energy and that motivation again. I think we as women, we need to stop expecting ourselves to bloom all year. We're just like flowers, okay? Flowers have seasons and so do you. And so I think you need to recognize and honor when your body is craving something slower. It doesn't mean you're lazy. It doesn't mean you're, a failure. It just means that you need to do something to fill your cup back up. And I am really focused on doing that these days. And this resonates with you. I need you to listen. I've talked about this in I've done a whole podcast episode on this, talking about how the lock-in and hustle culture is really just a form of avoidance. So I would definitely go listen to that episode. But if you've gotten off path and you're trying to figure out, how do I find my path again? I think I need you, again, this may also sound counterintuitive, but tapping into not your passions, but where are you feeling jealousy and envy in your life? Stick with me here, but everyone always talks about how comparison is the thief of joy. And I truly believe that. And we cannot compare ourselves to others. We can't compare our timelines or just anything like that, because we're all on our own paths. But if you are comparing yourself to somebody, I need you to tap into exactly what it is that you are either jealous of or envious of with this person, and use that to point you towards what you actually want. And that is how you're going to find your path in life. Because I think so many people are just constantly looking for their purpose, especially if you're someone who is multi-passionate and multifaceted like I am. Like, using your jealousy and your envy as a tool to guide you to what it is that you actually want and get to the root of it is going to change your life. And I just realized mid-episode I didn't turn the light on behind me. Motherfucker. Is it too late now to turn it on? Whoopsies. I can't believe I did that. I'm silly. Yes, with those little teethers. Guys, he's so cuddly today. He's so happy I'm home. Can you show the people your teethers? No? Okay, we're shy. We're camera shy. And so with this too, if you're someone who's like me and loves her to-do lists, I need you, this is something I've started doing and it's really changed my stress and anxiety levels. I started structuring my daily to-do lists by the must-dos and the want-to-dos. And if I just get the things that are the must-dos done on that list, then the day was successful and I can rest. Again, when I have so many ideas and things that I want to accomplish, it's just a never ending, it seems like it's never going to end. But the thing is, I'm creating my own misery, and so are you in those situations. And that's where too, if you're finding it a drag, it's like, get back to your why. Why do you even need to do any of this? Why do you want to do any of this? What is it behind it? Is it getting really clear on why is the question that we all need to answer. We get to choose what our life means. We get to create what our life means for us. No one can tell us the meaning of life because it's our life. No person on this earth is going to live the exact same life as you. They may come from similar backgrounds and similar circumstances, but no one's ending is going to be the exact same. And your ending is not going to be the same as your beginning, so long as you choose to have meaning in your life. So every single day you get to choose something that is meaningful to you that day, whether today is a day that you are hustling and you're grinding and you are getting shit done, or if it's a day where you're like, I just need to rest. And if I accomplish this one task, I was productive today. That's it. No one can tell you what your days have to be filled with. No one can tell you what your day means or your life means. You get to decide that for yourself. So since we're all going to die anyways, what are you going to do with your time? And this is especially for my lover girls out there. You're going to die anyways one day. Do you seriously want to waste your life looking for a mediocre man who is never going to love you the way that you deserve? I'm not saying that we're not going to find love. People on the internet love to call me a man hater. The unfortunate reality is I love men. I love love. I love love stories. I'm a hopeless romantic. And it's really fucking unfortunate. And it makes it so hard for me to be the detached person that everyone's that I would love to be. I unfortunately do love and I love relationships and I want a man. I don't hate men. I hate shitty men. I hate men who are assholes. And I don't even I don't hate them. I don't really hate anybody. Hate is just like a useless emotion to me. I just feel so sorry because I'm like, really, dude? Really? Like, I just look at them like, come on, brother. Like, I love men, and that's unfortunate. I just think it's really funny and easy to roast them sometimes because they just do stupid shit. Like, that's my favorite thing in dating is when a man is like, oh, are you going to talk shit about me on your podcast? It's like, well, don't do something that gives me content, brother. Don't. Like, you don't want to be talked about? Don't be an asshole. Like, I just ended things with somebody I was seeing for like a little over a month now. I got nothing to say about him. Am I annoyed? Sure. But like, there's nothing bad I can say about him. I don't think he's a bad guy. There's no funny bits. It's not like the guy who said all's fair in love and war to me. I don't know if you guys remember that story, or the guy who wouldn't shut up about how Margot Robbie is his exact type. And I'm like, hello, what am I doing here then? Like, don't give me content and I won't talk shit about you on the podcast. It is that simple. Y'all motherfuckers, though, take it as a challenge and you're like, let me see how much I can piss her off. Hello? You're going to get talked about then. But I digress. I just like, it's so funny to me. And that's the thing though, is like, I am going to die one day. There's no guarantee that I'm going to ever fall in love again. Do I think I will? Absolutely. I know in my heart that I'm meant to love. Does that mean that love is going to be romantic? I don't know. It's a big question mark. And you know what? I'm at peace with that. Because nothing beats the love of, this is the only man's love I need right now. I love this little guy. But I just think that like, as hard of a subject as death is, it's, you know, even though we all die, like depending on what our beliefs are, we're not even all going to end up in the same afterlife. Like it's just, life is so full of nuance. Nuance is the spice of life, and we are severely lacking in it. As I'm saying, this year is half over. It is normal and so common for us to freak out about that. And it is so common for us to be like, oh my God, I got nothing done on my like resolutions. I'm a failure. I need you to take a fucking Xanax and calm the fuck down and literally just write out all of the wins that you've achieved this year, especially the stuff that that wasn't even on your radar. Like, just take a good hard look at what you've accomplished and how your priorities have shifted. And I promise you, you will feel so much better about things. And I want you to reframe this check-in in a way that doesn't create guilt or shame about the things that you haven't achieved. Instead, I want you to focus on, well, what happened? You know what? But be so brutally honest with yourself too about maybe it is, you know what? I wasn't disciplined enough to accomplish this. Let me fix that now. Or you know what? I'm really afraid to let myself have this dream because I'm afraid of failing or sucking or afraid of being seen. Like, be so brutally honest with yourself. Ask yourself too, like, what did you think I will? Ask yourself too, like, why did I even want this thing? Like, why did I feel the need to make this a resolution? Was there outside pressure? Was I living my life for somebody else? Like, all those things. Like, I think back to, this is actually really funny. I was talking to somebody recently and he was asking me how I ended up in Nashville if I'm from New York. And this guy was a real piece of work misogynist. I wasn't talking to him in a romantic way. It was a professional colleague. And motherfucker, I've never quit a gig so fast. Anyways, we were talking about it and he asked me how I ended up in Nashville instead of New York. And I, went through my whole story. I was like, yeah, I almost went to law school, blah, blah, blah. He goes, well, who wanted you to go to law school? I said, well, my dad. My dad really wanted that for me. He wanted me to go to law school. This man looks me dead in the eyes and goes, oh, so you disappointed your father? I'm sorry. Who says that to somebody, first off? Second of all, I looked him right back dead in the eyes and go, actually, my dad's really proud of the choices that I made and really proud of the life I've built for myself. And it's true, because in that moment, I felt like I wanted to pop off so badly, but I didn't, because I couldn't help but laugh because, yeah, sure, at first my dad may have been disappointed, but he would have been really even more disappointed if he dropped like another 60 grand on schooling for me to not end up using my law degree at all. I think that would have been a bigger fucking disappointment. But I say that because, and I can't help but laugh at that statement because, yeah, sure, maybe my dad was temporarily disappointed, but I would have been disappointed for a lifetime if I was continuing to live a life that I didn't want to live and continuing to live my life for the sake and approval of my father. which ironically is something that I have now and my little daddy issues self has always wanted. Look how that plays out. You know what I mean? But all that to say, I think you need to take a hard look at the things that you've said you wanted and reevaluate why you actually wanted them. And if you don't want it anymore, I need you to think of, do I feel relieved? Do I feel sad? Like, what is the emotion tied to this? The point of reflecting on our years so far isn't to shame ourselves for the things that we haven't achieved. It isn't to shame ourselves for the things that we haven't achieved. And it's not to put that pressure on us to really hustle and grind for these next 6 months. And I think that's where so many people go wrong with their mid-year check-ins. I think if anything, it's supposed to get honest about what is and isn't working for ourselves in our lives and just really allow ourselves to be in touch with what it is that we actually want. What is our why for everything that we do? So these next 6 months of the year, they should not be, I don't want you to say it'd be like, it's time for me to lock in and I got to hustle and grind. And sure, I think I'm going to be doing that in some capacity, but I also want to be kinder with myself and, kind of regroup on some things that I've lost sight of and get clear on what's no longer working for me and maybe establish, somewhat of a 5-year, I don't want to call it a 5-year plan. I want to call it maybe it's like a 5-year guide, right? Like it shouldn't be called a 5-year plan. It should be like a 5-year guide of here's where I'd like my life to go. And here's why I want my life to go there and holding on to those whys so that if and when other things do come along, you're able to take those opportunities instead of feeling like I'm getting off path. To quote the great Kyle Cook, summer should be fun. And so our mid-year summer check-ins are not for shaming ourselves. They are for getting back to the root of why we are doing what we are doing. And that is all. Nothing more, nothing less. Just journal your little heart out and get to the root of what you want out of life. And if you're recognizing, I don't know my why, well, my friend, that is a sign you need to get to know yourself a little bit better. But all of that to say, thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of Not the Girl Next Door. I promise I'm getting back on track. I promise I'm going to be getting back on track and being consistent with episodes again. This has just been a crazy, chaotic time in my life. And I've been traveling nonstop and about to be traveling nonstop again. So mama got to get ahead and record some stuff. But I just thank you guys so much for being here and stay tuned for the Substack announcement on when that will be released. It will be replacing the Snail Mail Club. If you didn't already know that, get the email, whatever. Also, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review wherever you are listening. It really helps. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. And so you could see these episodes on video, especially, Rocco, he's actually the star of the show. And I will see you guys next week for another episode. Bye for now.
You say bye?